Writing a book on impact got me thinking. I wonder what some of my family may feel about impact, specifically if there were authors who had made an impact in their lives, like authors have made an impact in mine. So I decided to ask them, and I had way too much fun in the process. I learned that I take for granted small nuggets of information because asking this question and hearing their answers was honestly, truly beautiful moments in my life I will forever cherish. They were excited to share them. Well, except my 7-year-old who was a bit hangry in the process, but I learned so much more about them while interviewing them. I hope you enjoy hearing from the people I love so much and the fiction authors who have made an impact on their lives. Hey, I'm Stephanie Feger, and Empower is my middle name. Well, not really, but it should be. I believe that empowered people empower people, and I am obsessed about empowering you, the nonfiction author, with impactful marketing strategies and tactics to help you take your important message and share it with those who desperately need it and want it and will buy it. As the owner and chief strategist of the Empower PR Group and the author of 2 books myself, I have merged my love for reading books and writing books and marketing books to help nonfiction authors with laser-focused strategies and tactics to write books that sell, promote books to those who need and want them most, and build meaningful businesses from empowering messages. Think of this as your one-stop shop for marketing insights from an author who has been there, who has done that, and understands exactly where you are. Because I'm there, releasing a book this week. So get your pens ready because I'm ready to empower you, author friend. This is the Empowered Author Podcast. Today, you'll get the opportunity to hear a little behind the scenes of my own life as I interview for the first time my 3 children, my husband, and my dad. They know I love books. They know I love writing and reading them and marketing them. But for whatever reason, I never really asked them before now what books and authors meant to them. Well, you're about to hear what they told me when I asked them what author has made an impact in each of their lives. Hi, Eli. How are you doing today, bud?
I'm good.
You're doing good. You're doing good. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast today.
Well, thank you.
Are you excited or are you nervous?
Kind of a bit of both.
Kind of a bit of both. I remember when I first started my podcast and I felt the same way. And then it became fun.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, do you have a problem talking?
No.
No. The answer is no, you don't. Okay, well, I want you to tell my listeners your age. How old are you?
I am 10 and about to turn 11.
And what grade is that?
5th.
You are in 5th grade?
Yes.
The child who made me a mother is growing up underneath my nose. Well, hey, what do I do for a living? What do I do?
You help other people write books and write books?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
It seems pretty cool.
Seems pretty cool. Would you ever want to be an author one day?
Maybe.
Maybe. You go off and on telling me on if you really want to be an author or not. But today I wanted to ask you some questions about author impact. Do you know why?
No.
Well, I have a new book coming out.
Cool.
What do you think about that?
That sounds so cool. What's it about?
It is how to help other authors make an impact, because that's honestly anybody that has written a book, they're doing it because they want to make a difference in the life of somebody.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. And you knew about the book. You helped me pick out the cover, didn't you?
Yeah.
What do you think about the cover?
I kind of wish that we would have went with my pick, but I still think that it's pretty good. That was my second pick.
Out of the mouths of babes. I love it. So I wanted to ask you, because I'm curious, you are an avid reader and you have some authors that you really like. So I'm curious, what author has made an impact on you?
His name is Dave Pilkey.
Dave Pilkey. Okay, tell us a little bit about Dave.
Well, he writes Dogman, Captain Underpants, and a bunch of other books like that. And he was born with ADHD when he was little, so he would get sent out to the hallway in school, and he would write comics while he was in the hallway.
And how come I didn't know this?
Because I never said that you liked him.
Oh, well, that's because I wasn't quite sure my thoughts on Captain Underpants, right? But you know what? That's really cool. So he is an author who used a challenge in his life as a way to do something good. Yeah. So you said he writes comics, right? Talk to me about
Yes.
that.
Well, he can do comics and sometimes chapter books too, like Captain Underpants.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I have is a comic.
Is a comic. Which one is your favorite book of his? I think you brought it up here, right, for our interview.
Yes, it is called Dogman Unleashed.
Dogman Unleashed. I'm surprised you didn't like one that was like Catman.
Well,
Wait,
there actually is one. So.
there is. Did he write those?
Oh, yes, he did.
He did. Nessie, we're a family of cat lovers, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, when you were a little guy, which you still are, but when you were littler, I remember you came to the table one day and said, Mama, I want to write comics about cats. And what did I tell you? Do you remember what I've told you?
No.
I said, awesome. And so then you said, I'm going to do cat boy or something. And I'm like, buddy, there's a thing called plagiarism in the world.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that now. I remember that now.
Yeah. I said, go right to your heart's content, but we may not be able to publish those beauties. Yeah. So you love writing comics, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you like comics?
Well, I think that they're just fun to read and stuff like that.
Why are they fun to read?
Well, they're imaginative and they have a lot of pictures, and I just get to look at the pictures while reading the speech bubbles of other people. So I think that that's pretty fun.
Does it help your mind think about what might be happening?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually. The pictures do.
The pictures do. I know you write a lot of comics as well.
Yep.
Yeah. We've done some school where you could do comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In our history, I remember some.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I am excited that Dave Pilkey took something in his life that could have been a challenge and instead he used it as an opportunity to do something good in the world and inspire people like you to realize that maybe writing a book doesn't have to directly be like how I write a book. That it can be through beautiful art and comics and share a story in a really inspirational way. If you could say something to Dave Pilkey right now about how he's made an impact in your life, what would you say?
Thank you, and I love your books.
And when's the next one coming?
There's actually right now. He's been making one right now.
On what?
Cat Kid.
Cat
Comic
Kid.
Club. He's making like a series right now, and he's working on the 4th book.
That's awesome. Eli, thank you for sharing your favorite author, what some of your favorite books, and how authors are making an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, dude.
I love you too.
Hi, Lindy. How are you doing today?
Good.
You're doing good.
Uh-huh.
Why are you doing so good? Because it's the weekend?
Yeah.
Because you're just always doing good, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Lindy, how old are you?
8.
You are 8? So what grade are you in?
3rd.
You are in 3rd grade. Good golly, girl. What do you like about 3rd grade?
It's pretty easy, and I just like being in 3rd grade.
Yeah, well, you know, 8 is my lucky number. And 8 was probably one of my favorite years to live. So maybe it's one of your favorites too. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, talk to me about reading.
Reading is very fun.
You love to read, don't you?
Uh-huh. And when I read, I imagine I'm there, and the pictures show me how it's doing.
Ooh.
And how the acting is.
Ooh, so I love that you can be like imaginative with books, right? Like they transport you somewhere and pictures help you like get there quicker.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so did you always like to read?
No, not always.
Well, what author helped you find a love for reading?
I like Mary Pope Osborne.
Mary Pope Osborne. What does she write?
She writes Magic Treehouse.
Magic Treehouse. You know, I didn't know about Magic Treehouse until you all taught me about them. I think she might have been writing Magic Treehouse books when I was a kid, but I don't remember any. Are there a lot of Magic Treehouse books?
A ton.
A ton? Have you read a lot of them?
Not all of them, but at least halfway.
So talk to me about how's the Magic Treehouse books work? Like what's the storyline?
So there's 3 main characters.
Okay.
In the book. Jack, Annie, and also a librarian, a magical librarian that has a magic treehouse.
Whoa, okay, so a magical librarian with a magical treehouse. So what happens when they go in the magical librarian's magic treehouse?
It's full of books, and every day they will go there, and the books talk about where they go.
So when they open a book,
They just have to say, "I wish I could go there."
and what happens?
And then the treehouse would spin, and then they would get to their destination.
And when they get to their destination, they could be like back in time with the dinosaurs, or with knights, or what's this book that you brought up today is one of your favorites?
It's about, I think, Egypt.
Ooh, yeah, Season of the Sandstorms and Egypt. It looks like Aladdin and Jasmine on a carpet. So when you're reading these books, what's really cool about Mary Pope Osborne is she helps you learn stuff about things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She also writes books that are kind of like it, but they're called fact trackers. Mm-hmm. So the books talk about some stuff that they go, but the fact trackers teach you more about them.
Oh yeah, you love fact trackers. When we're going down the road, I love looking back at you when I'm driving. Hold on. Only when I'm parked and driving, not really driving, because I have to be safe, right? Yeah. But when I look behind me and I see you reading a fact tracker, I know that Mary Pope Osborne's like pouring into your noggin all this good knowledge.
My favorite fact tracker is about horses.
I was going to ask you, what have you learned about horses?
That a long time ago, people hunted wild horses.
No.
For them to ride.
What? They hunted them so they were wild. They had to domesticate them, didn't they? Yeah. What else did you learn about horses?
I don't remember much.
Well, you'll just have to read that fact tracker again. I love that. And usually the fact trackers kind of connect with some of the books too, right?
Uh-huh.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I know you really fell in love with the Magic Treehouse series. And we're in the business of trying to get them all, aren't we?
Uh-huh.
We've got lots, don't we?
A ton.
A ton. And you can probably read a whole one in a day, can't you?
Yeah, I can try.
I
have done it before in like 2 or 3 hours.
Well, I'm so grateful for Mary Pope Osborne because before you started reading Magic Treehouse books, you didn't like to read. You didn't like to read. And now that you've been reading them, I can't get books away from you. We just got back from vacation. And how many books did you take on vacation?
14.
14. 14 books for that little beautiful 8-year-old. That's proof of how an author can change somebody.
And they were mostly Magic Treehouse.
Of course. If you had the chance to tell Mary Pope Osborne something, what would you tell her?
I'll tell her that I love her books.
That you love her books.
And if I can help her make a new one.
You would like to.
But it'll be about going to meet a unicorn.
Ooh! See, so she didn't just inspire a love for learning. She may have inspired a love for writing. This author wouldn't mind if her little daughter decided to do that one day. Thank you, sweet girl, for sharing. What an author that has made an impact on you. I sure do love you.
I do too.
Hi, Luke.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good.
Doing good?
I didn't get a big enough breakfast, though.
You didn't get enough breakfast. I'm so sorry. That little growing belly boy of you needs lots of food.
Only got 3 pancakes.
Only 3 pancakes?
Yeah, and they were this big.
They were little? This big. Sounds like we need to go have lunch, don't we?
Yes, I'm really hungry.
So, hey, question for you before lunch.
What?
Do you like to read?
Yes.
And who is your favorite author to read?
Mo Williams.
Mo Williams. What kind of books does Mo Williams write?
Piggy and Gerald books.
Piggy and Gerald books, or otherwise known as an Elephant and Piggy book. We love Piggy and Gerald. Why are they called Piggy? Why do we call them Piggy and Gerald?
Because Piggy the pig and Gerald's the elephant.
And Gerald is the elephant. And we have a lot of fun. We've been reading these for a long time. Do you remember how we got these books?
Yes.
How?
I forgot.
You forgot? Can I tell you?
Yes.
So Mama and Daddy has a really great friend that lives on the other side of the United States who I don't believe she has any grandchildren. And when we had you guys, she decided to mail us over a big old box of her favorite books, which just so happened to be Piggy and Gerald books.
Wow.
Wow. And little would she know, all three of you guys would fall in love with Piggy and Gerald, and they are so much fun for us to read together. What's your favorite one?
I really like Slop.
I really like Slop.
And my second favorite is Was Stuck. We are in a book.
We're in a book. Yeah, that one's about them being stuck in a book and them talking to us. And this one, I really like Slop, is about pigs liking slop and Piggy trying to get Gerald to eat it.
Oh, I'm really hungry.
Uh-oh, are you going to eat slop?
No, but Gerald ends up being Slop.
And did Gerald like the slop?
No.
No. Well,
because Piggy put old shoes in it.
Ew! Why would he put old shoes in it?
To make it taste good.
To make it taste good? You know why I really like Piggy and Gerald books too?
Why?
Because you and I can read them together.
Yeah, because there's a girl and a boy.
I know, so which one do I read?
Piggy.
I read Piggy, and who do you read?
Gerald.
Gerald. So when you were learning how to read, we would go back and forth on those, and then we would be really funny and silly together, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you read lots of books now, don't you? So if you could have a meeting, if you could meet Mo Williams, what would you tell him?
I'd tell him I really like your books.
Yeah, and how would you tell him he has made an impact on your life?
Because,
He's like, I don't know, but I know. You know what Mo Williams did? He instilled a love for learning and reading in your life. Sometimes I can't find you, and you're downstairs by our bookshelf reading Mo Williams books. Thank you, Luke, for sharing your favorite author who's made an impact on your life.
You're welcome.
I sure do love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
Hey, you. That makes me think of the TV show we watched. Oh. You. If you haven't watched You, it's pretty good.
Check it out.
Check it out. I'm joined today by my better half, Corey, who has been a huge supporter of me over the years. And we've been married for almost 13 years now and been together for several years longer. So he knew me before writing books and now in the thick of it.
It's been a heck of a transition, but I'm happy to be here along the way. And I'm definitely not the better half. I'll take the lesser half.
Oh, now come on. He's just trying to look good. Welcome to the podcast today, Corey.
Happy to be here.
You are usually corralling children when I am editing and recording podcasts, but you get to be on it today.
I do, and I typically am listening to these podcasts every day when I'm driving with work. So It's going to be fun to hear my own voice one day, I guess.
One of my favorite fans on everything, a top fan on everything. So I am really digging deep and asking the people who I care so much about how authors have made an impact in their life. And there was a caveat for you. You're not allowed to say me. I want you to tell me an author who has made an impact on your life, an author that you just really love.
Well, do you have a pen name yet?
You're not allowed to use me.
Not allowed. Okay, fine. I would say, it's interesting that you are in the field that you're in because I never really was a big reader. When I was a kid, I would read the Choose Your Own Adventure books, but for the most part, I never had an author that I followed. But I would say as an adult, I definitely have enjoyed some Dan Brown books.
Ooh, I love me some Dan Brown books.
So I enjoyed the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons and those books. So he would be my choice.
Of course you would, because it's set over in a different location, kind of like Greece. It's not Greece, but it's Italy, right?
The Vatican, for one.
The Vatican, yeah.
And you know how I love my history and everything related to that. So
yeah, so the Da Vinci Code has a movie too, which is pretty darn good. You know, most movies and books are not always equivalent or good.
They did good with that one.
They did do good with that one. I liked it. The Da Vinci Code's like a full series. You've read all of them too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like The Lost Symbol. There's another one in there.
There's, I think, that third one, yeah.
Yeah, so why do you like those books the most?
You know, the history. I think there is something to be said about a book that is fictional, but also has maybe some pieces of nonfiction in there.
Mm.
So there's some history that you can follow that makes it feel like it can really be real, but you're getting lost still within the story and the action and the thrill.
Yeah, well, that's cool because I always see fiction books as a beautiful way to like be transported to somewhere else. And life is crazy and chaotic anyway. And so fiction is just like a free airline ticket to go somewhere else and to like live in something else for a hot minute. But the ones that teach you something in the process, I think are win-wins.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the Da Vinci Code's pretty cool.
I would say so.
It has like a Catholic background, right? And we're both Catholic.
It has some pieces, I think.
Yeah,
the Vatican, it's involved in the
there.
Vatican, and there's some cardinals and involvement there. So there's the controversy in the book kind of gets you thinking about some things, which is fun. A book should challenge you and your thoughts and your imagination and all the above. So.
It really should. And I just have to give major kudos out to authors who write fiction. Not that I don't give kudos to authors who write nonfiction, because I get to work with so many and they're really awesome. But the fiction world requires a different level of skill. It's like a creativity that is bar none. And Dan Brown is a prime example of not just creativity, but I know he went through a ton of research with all of his books to really make sure that there was no detail left out of the process.
I think he had to, and I think that's probably a little bit of why his books are as successful as they are, because they do have that historical background. If you go back and fact check them, you're going to see a lot of it is correct. So you're thinking like, whoa, this guy really did his homework on it.
Yeah, well, and you're learning.
In the process. Yeah.
You're learning in the process while being transported somewhere. If you could sit down and have lunch with Dan Brown, what would you talk to him about?
Goodness gracious. It would be probably a very neat conversation just to see how he came up with the idea. How'd you come up with your characters, and why did you choose those certain storylines? This is very complicated. His books are very complicated. They take twists and turns, and before you know it, it's taken another turn that you didn't think that it could possibly take. So how did you go about coming up with those and just progressing through the storyline in your own head?
Not that I can embody Dan Brown, but I venture to say a story like his is not a story he probably woke up and decided to write. It's a story that within him needed to be written. It's really interesting how that works. I feel like, when God puts a skill in somebody and he knows that there's something someone's supposed to do, like you can't not do it. I was recently listening to a video, both you and I were, a YouTube video of one of my favorite authors, Jody, and I'm laughing because we just recently learned that I've been saying her last name wrong. Jody Picoult, not Picoult, although I sure do like Picoult.
Spelled like Picoult. Us Kentuckians, we like to say it like it's spelled.
Every word or every letter has a sound. But Jody Picoult was sharing how some of her stories come out, and it was she realizes when she gets an idea and she can't shake it, usually that means that there's a character that needs to come out. There's a story that needs to come out. And something tells me that Dan Brown's probably one of those.
I'm sure. I feel the same with you in your nonfiction space. It's a story that's inspired.
Well, because you've seen.
I have. I've lived it with you.
Remember the day that you came home? It was the day before Thanksgiving. And you said, "Hey, babe, how's your work today?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I just wrote a book."
Pretty much. Or the times at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up and you're thinking, I have to get this note down. I just had this thought. It was like a dream that came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it does. It comes. And that's probably, I think you speak the truth. I bet most even fictional authors have that happen to them. And nonfiction as well.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you sharing how Dan has made an impact in your life and authors in general. And on behalf of the author over here, I'm really grateful that you allow me to make my impact as being, my partner in crime. And I just really appreciate it. So thanks for being on here.
Well, I'm very proud of you and the impact that you make on your people.
Oh, tear. Love you, babe.
Love you.
Hey, Dad, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Steph, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. I was realizing that, books have always been a part of me and my DNA. You probably remember that. I would much rather read a book than go play.
Yeah, you were pretty good about that.
I remember Mom would always push me to go get on a bike and go ride to see my friends. I'm like, I just want to finish the book.
Yeah, so now you're done.
Well, I realized as writing my forthcoming book and the impact that authors have, I look back and realize that there were so many authors that poured into me when I was a child and reading and what have you. And maybe it's what influenced my career path. But I've been doing a lot of reflecting and asking others, especially those close to me in my family, like a question I've never considered. And is, I don't know, did an author make an impact on you? Now, there's a caveat to this question, Dad. You can't say me.
Okay, this has to be prior Steph.
Prior Steph.
I always liked science fiction. I guess the first author that I can remember reading would have been Kurt Vonnegut. I'm sure I've read others, but for some reason, he just kind of sticks in my mind. I took a class, I think I was probably about a sophomore in high school. It was an English class, but it was a science fiction. And that's all we had to do was read books. And I guess that's really where I got into it. What I always liked about science fiction is, you could kind of close, well, not, this is probably with any author. I was able to like close my eyes and I could like live, what the author was writing. Plus, if you go back and look at some of the science fiction that I read when I was a kid, it's all come true now.
I was going to say. So does
I get, like back in the day, there was Dick Tracy, which was a comic strip in the newspaper, and he was a cop. But he had like a watch that you could talk on and see people. And I was like, whoa, man. And now we have them. I think they're called apples.
Yeah, an Apple Watch.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and if you go way back to like Jules Verne, you talked about, 20 Leagues Under the Sea, and he was always sending, like mission to the moon. And what's really weird about on the mission to the moon, now you got to remember this was written back probably in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He figured out that you had to shoot the missile to reach the moon from an area in Florida that's extremely close to where Cape Canaveral is. So it's really weird how that works out. Now, what I'm waiting for that hasn't happened yet, there's a couple things. First of all, is time travel. I'm waiting for that to happen because I'm really looking forward to that. And that's probably my biggest sci-fi that I'm waiting for. But it's really cool. I just enjoy it. Not a type of book that everybody gets into, but it's one I've always enjoyed.
Well, you've said a couple things I think is interesting, and I agree with. The beautiful thing about fiction is it allows you to get out of your normal and go do things that you're not normally doing. Like, it allows you to not stress about the normal chaos of life or what you're experiencing. And I can only imagine, you being introduced to this when you were in high school, the types of dilemmas that kids in high school experience. Having an outlet like a sci-fi allows you to really get into that and put aside pressures and stressors that happen for any kid in puberty going through, right? But it's also neat because you're right. Like, many people probably look at science fiction as so far-fetched, but when you go back in time, you do see that these people took nuggets of reality and built kind of like embellished a bit. And then that reality has the potential to come to reality. Now, Dad, I don't know if aliens are going to show up, and I don't know if we can time travel. I sure hope one day, because it would make vacation better.
It's like, I didn't say we could do it right now, but it's coming. But you got to remember back when you were little and you found out that we didn't have microwaves when I was a kid, it was like, well, how did you eat?
I had a chat the other day with my kids about, I remember when the internet, when we got our first computer, and it was like the, you
was making
dial-up.
A modem connection, yeah.
And I remember getting extra credit for typing my notes in like grade school, almost middle school age, and because we had one of the first computers, it was something that was not normal, and my kids can't imagine, what that's like. And so you're right, like, things evolve and technology compounds very quickly.
Oh yeah, it's 1 becomes 2, then 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. It's not a single multiplier; it's a multiplier of a multiplier kind of situation. Well, that's like you can take a civilian space flight now. 10 years ago, that was completely unheard of as far as even being possible. They're talking about putting living bases on Mars. Mm-hmm. It's just,
insane.
It's just Star Trek, for instance, the TV show Star Trek, where they could beam people from one place to another. And, well, I'll give you an example. I remember a long time ago, I can't tell you the show. In fact, it might have been Lost in Space, where if you wanted something to eat, you went into the kitchen and you pushed this button and food come out. Not much unlike how a microwave works now. You put it in, you push a button, and in 1.45 seconds, then food comes out. It's just so much has come to fruition from science fiction. So I don't know if the sci-fi writers are able to see into the future. to write this or how that all works, but it seems pretty weird how that seems to happen.
Well, I was going to say it's the chicken or the egg story, right? Like, is it that there's a nugget of an idea and some authors have the opportunity to build upon it in a creative way? Or is it that authors have a creative idea and then somebody looks at that and goes, well, why can't I do that? And then we figure out how to make it happen. Either way, it's proof that authors create impact and create energy, and creativity is one of those. I think when you sit down and you reflect in a fiction book, your mind goes places that maybe it wouldn't have gone or thought before. And I think that unlocks a part of your imagination, your brain, your opportunities and potential. And it's all because one person sat down with either a pen and paper or a keyboard and shared something that they haven't been able to shake from within them. And so I think authors are pretty impactful.
They make you think. It's like my dad, your grandpa, always said, if two people sit down and have a conversation, a third person actually emerges. That you'll say something that'll make me think of something, or vice versa, which neither one of us would have thought of on our own. But by having a conversation, a new idea materializes.
Well, that's a really cool concept. And I think that's interesting in applying it to books. Like one person sits down to write the book, the other person sits down to read it, and then a third person evolves where the two merge, where the writer or the author and the reader bring their unique experiences to the table through the same lens, and something new comes out of it. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yep.
See, this is why this has been a kind of fun journey for me to interview and chat with people that are close to me and I care a lot about how authors make an impact, because I'm learning about each one. I think everybody should do that. Those of y'all listening today, go ask some of the closest people in your life who has made an author impact in their life, and I bet you will be just as surprised. Dad, thanks for being on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I love you.
Love you too.
Books are powerful. They transport you to different locations, cultures, and they give you experiences. They teach you about other people, and they teach you about yourself in the process. They are a creative tool to work through challenges and overcome with triumph. They are memorable, they are beautiful, and so are the authors behind them. This week, my newest book, Make Your Author Impact, Sell More Books, Increase Your Reach, and Achieve Your Why, is releasing, and I am humbled by the journey to bring it to life. Each of the amazing people I interviewed today believed in me enough to help bring this book to life too. And I talk about each within it, because from the author's perspective, we need amazing people to gift us with ideas and perspective to share with others. Impact actually goes both ways. It's not a one-way road. It goes both ways. And what these 5 people didn't realize and don't realize is that they are the ones who make an impact on me. If you want to learn how to utilize effective marketing strategies to write a marketable book, sell more books, and build or grow a business with your book's messages, I am hopeful that my book will be of service to you. I am honored to make an impact on authors so that you, author friend, can keep making an impact on your readers. Now, you're an empowered author, and you know the drill. I'm a believer that empowered people, and impact can go both ways. Now it is your turn to empower others and make your author impact.